everyone. I am Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker, and I'm a host of this Halt and Catch Fire rewatch podcast. Now, my topic when I speak is something I call Take the Doughnut, which is all about seizing opportunity, seizing the things you want in life. And I issued myself a Take the Doughnut challenge of, can I do a Halt and Catch Fire rewatch and actually discuss the show with other humans? And we're up leveling that today because I'm actually doing an interview with people who worked on the show, which I'm so excited for. But before I formally introduce these guests, I just want to do one quick piece of housekeeping. Look, if you're new to the show and you haven't seen it all the way through, my episode recaps are safe for you. They are spoiler free. But this interview is going to be spoiler filled. We're going to be talking about things from any season of the show. So please beware, be warned, and maybe come back to it later if you haven't. But for those who are sticking with us for now, welcome. And I want to say hello to the official guests of this podcast, which are Morgan Hinkleman, who played the lovely young Joanie Clark, and Alana Cavanaugh, who played young Haley Clark. Morgan and Alana, welcome.
Thank you.
First of all, it warms my heart that you two wanted to do this together. And it feels like, it's been some years since the show ended. So have you guys stayed in touch consistently through that whole time?
Oh my gosh, yes. We make it an effort to see each other as often as possible. We are always planning stuff, but we always see each other every summer since we started filming. We're best friends to this day. So.
Yeah. we often say, like, when we're out in public together, like I introduce her, say like, yeah, this is Morgan. I often introduce her as like my older sister because it's literally been like that since day one. And all my friends know who she is and everything like that. We always go back and forth, trade houses and stuff like that. And yeah, so we're really, really close. It's my best friend.
Oh my gosh, people all over just going, "Aw!" right now. I feel like this is the dynamic duo we didn't know we needed, but here it is. This is very appropriate. Look, I know talking about the show is going back to when you were really young, but let's just see what comes up if I ask some questions, shall we? I mean, first of all, knowing that you were very young, what was the process for you both to get onto the show to begin with? Were there auditions? How does that work? Maybe I'll start with Morgan for that one.
Okay, yeah. So we did like a self-tape audition, and then we both got callbacks, and so we had a callback in person in Atlanta, and we were both there together. I remember seeing Alana and her seeing me, and there's a whole story about that. We saw each other at the callback, and we went in, auditioned, and then booked the role and got on the show. But yeah, we were there together. That's the first time we but saw each other at the callback in person. And I'll let Alana tell you the story when she saw me for the first time.
So the scene that we had to audition for was a scene. We actually both went in together too. At first we went on with different people, and then they asked us to stay later, and they ended up, we were the last two people in the callback room, and they called us back in together. And Morgan is kind of her own little method actor, and I remember like sitting across the room, like we had never talked to each other, nothing like that. We'd only seen our pictures like in like the room and whatever. And in this scene, she had to be like really angry at me. And I remember sitting outside, like looking over, and her just having this really nasty face on. And I turned to my mom and I was like, I really don't want to go. Like, I really, really hope they don't make me go back there with her. And we got called back into the room together, and all of the reactions were real. I was genuinely afraid and upset of her.
Oh my goodness. Was that a scene from the show, or did they write that just for the audition?
No, I think it was a scene in the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember. But yeah, it was a little like sisterly fight scene, if I remember right. And yeah, we both have sisters, so we're very
So you ended up, when you went to that audition in person, you were acting with a bunch of different possible Joanie and Haley people, and then
it was more of like a chemistry type thing. So they wanted to see like which two people had like the best chemistry and just kind of the best like skills all together that can work together.
Cool. That's a pretty significant process, but I mean, you had significant roles on the show. So like, I guess you need to know for sure that the kids you're picking are going to be able to pull it off.
Spent a lot of time together.
Really though. And a lot of time on set. So, one question I have for you is like, what do you remember about the process of actually shooting the show? I would imagine as younger actors, there were a lot of regulations around how long you could be on set. So what was a day in the life like for you? Maybe Alana, I'll start with you on that one.
So a lot of times we filmed in Georgia, so in Atlanta. So neither of us live in Atlanta or anything like that. So we would go and we'd stay in a hotel and they'd give us like our call times and whatever. And we'd kind of drive to the studio to like kind of like the home base and whatever. We'd take a bus over to like home base. We'd get in our trailers, we'd kind of get our costumes and everything for the day. Some days actually consisted of us like actually going and doing like a little fashion show and figuring out what our clothes were going to be for their episode, which was really fun. But then we'd kind of like get settled in our trailers and we'd head over to the hair and makeup. I actually remember our first time in the hair and makeup trailer was really interesting because Morgan got her hair chopped off. Yeah, I'll let her tell that story. But we'd get in the hair and makeup trailer, and then depending on whether we were going to be like on set or whether we were going to like in the studio, or we were going to be on like location, depended on when we would go. And then we typically like go and do marking and whatever like that, anything that they needed us to do. And then they'd kind of just pull us back into like a trailer or like just kind of home base, whatever, until it was time to time to film. But we spent a lot of time with each other and like learning lines and doing like a lot of like blocking. But yeah.
Cool. Morgan, did it feel the same for you?
Yeah, and I just want to, we were both like, obviously we were in school at the time, and so we would, in between takes, like Alana was homeschooled at the time, and then I was in just regular public school, and so we had like a teacher on set, and so like in between takes we'd be pulled, because we would have to get a certain amount of hours of schooling in order to do this, and so we would, in between takes, we'd be like, my teacher would send over worksheets from my school, my class, and we'd be like doing work together with our teacher and trying to get those hours in. And then obviously like us being minors, we had, certain hours we were allowed to work on set. So it was a lot of like getting that time in just every day, like making use of our time that we were allowed to be there. And a lot of times, like being in school, my mom's a teacher and she would take me on set and stuff. And we would be like, we'd be filming until, I remember one night, like midnight. We were actually wrapping that day and we finished shooting really late. It was the plane scene. And we finished around like midnight. Me and my mom drove 6 hours back and got back home and went right to school. Like it was very much like balancing act, but it was so much fun, and I absolutely loved just like set life. Me and Alana met the most amazing people who we still talk to today and know and love, and it was an amazing, I mean, I think I can speak for both of us. It was an amazing way to grow up and learn, and we were around adults, so I thought I was so cool. I was like, we were the little kids on set and around all these adults, and we felt like adults.
I have so many follow-up questions on this, but one detail, because you both have mentioned that in your answers, I never really thought about the fact that you didn't actually live in the city you were shooting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you have like, how much time were you having to spend? Because you were in a lot of episodes. So that would have meant like
Yeah.
every week you were going to Atlanta. How much time were you having to spend in a given week?
Yeah, we would, so they would kind of put it together in a way where like we would spend a few weeks in Atlanta, 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'd go home for a couple of weeks and then go back. And so it's very much back and forth, like weeks on and weeks off.
So were they maybe sometimes shooting scenes from multiple episodes at once to accommodate you?
Yeah, a lot of
Oh.
times they weren't in order. So
Never.
I
Yeah.
remember being a little like, even my memory now is foggy because people ask me about certain episodes and I'm like, I have no idea what
Yeah.
season, what episode, what was going on. But yeah, we had a lot of back and forth, and it was very like, it was very difficult too because we were at an age where like we were losing teeth. We were, like we were growing up, we were looking a lot older and that kind of thing. So we had to like go back and we had to do a lot of like, I think we had a couple reshoots and stuff like that of just like, I mean, we were at an age where like you're growing up, so you can definitely see that on screen. And I think that was kind of the special part of it too, because I think that we all became really close and we were the babies on set. So like everybody got to see us grow up and that was special. But yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I feel like you two are glowing as you talk about this show. So do you have any, just generally speaking, if I say favorite moments on set, do you have anything that jumps out at you?
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Every day was like, so me and Alana's from Florida. I'm from Pawleys Island, South Carolina. And so we're beach girls. And I remember it snowed in Atlanta and we had the time of our lives. Like we were throwing snowballs at Scoot. we were just everyone like they were the best. They would like play with us and we were having a little snow day and that is like a really fun memory for me just because we didn't get to do that. Like we didn't get to see snow. So that was really cool that day.
Right in the middle of like us filming. Like I remember we were like in the middle of a scene and one of the 80s was like, it's snowing, and everybody's walkies went off and they were like, bring the girls outside. And we got to go out in our costumes, but we had to like put ponchos on so we wouldn't get them wet. And we were just, it was so much fun. And I actually like, and I can speak for both of us. Like Morgan and I typically don't talk about like our movie life because it's very separate. And we both live pretty normal lives, have that side that's really different. But it's so funny when like we talk about these kinds of things because it's like people wouldn't understand. Like we had a snowball fight with Scoot McNairy and Carrie Bechet and Mackenzie Davis, and like it's so weird because like to us that was just growing up. That was just like our play dates. It was really fun.
It was amazing.
It's also cool that it like everybody was happy to say budget. What budget? Like we're just having a snowball fight right now.
Yeah.
I imagine that brought a lot of like fun energy for all the adults on set, being able to have you there to like play and I don't know, for people who had been in the industry for a while, especially, like I think maybe it helped them to see it with fresh eyes. So that's so fun. Well, so to start talking about some actual scenes from this show. So in it's like I know it all runs together for you, but in season 1, episode 6, for those of you who were going back and trying to like find these scenes, there's a whole episode about a hurricane coming to town.
Yes.
And there's this whole thing where I think it's not the first time you meet Joe, like your characters meet Joe, but it's the closest connection you've had to him, I think, to that point. And you're going to see him like fighting a hurricane with flashlights, and he's going to help you build a fort. And it just seemed like that would be the absolute perfect episode to be a kid in it. So like, what do you remember about that episode?
A lot of giggling. A lot of laughing.
Yes. And it was all like, I can imagine how it comes across like in the actual show, but a lot of it, it's like fake. It's fake rain. It's like us looking out a window is us looking at a wall. Like, it's like, it's funny, like, thinking about how it was in our minds. But I remember we had our little flashlights and we were just looking out our window, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah,
there was a lot of bonding in that episode. I actually remember I remember when we got to hang out with just like everybody who was involved, and it was like we kind of like had our little like camp out. Like it was kind of we were just having a little play date, and I remember it was also overnight, so it was an overnight shoot. And it went really late, so of course you can imagine little kids like all like sleep drunk, where they're just having the time of their lives, like just laughing and playing around. And I think I also had to do like a voiceover for that scene too, because I guess you couldn't hear me the first time when I was yelling. But I don't know, like it was all of our scenes that we were in, I can speak for both of us, were just so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Knowing you shot out of order, had you spent much time with, let's say, Lee Pace before then? Because you didn't really have a ton of interaction with that character, but were you with him a lot on set, or was that like your first chance to really meet and work with him?
Maybe Alana does. I really don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember when that would have been, if we would have seen him.
Yeah,
maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I think I had a scene specifically with Mr. Lee, and it was the one where I was like sitting on his foot. And I mean, the most I remember from that wasn't even actually like filming. It was literally the blocking, because I spent about 30 minutes like cutting the circulation off of his toes, because I was just sitting on his foot and having really fun conversations. But no, I don't remember like when our first time like getting to interact or have a scene with him was. But I do remember that like he was really fun to like talk to and be around, and any scene we did have obviously would have been when we were younger. So it was very like innocent and happy and exciting, and he was really great.
You know what's really lovely? I actually can't wait to get to that episode in the rewatch, because Joe's relationship with both of your characters really evolves over the course of I think it evolves in that episode, actually, but it also evolves in the show. And I like the relationship between Joe and Haley in particular is really lovely and interesting, and produces a lot of growth in his character. So it's cool to see where it really started, which like, yes, there was maybe an interaction before that on screen, but to have like Haley sitting on Joe's foot and Joe being like, that's an Italian shoe, versus like years later when there's like a really deep connection between all of you. I think it's like cool that you have that starting point. To get to specific scenes that each of you were in, I picked out sort of like a question for each of you to test you and to test your, no, I'm just gonna try to talk you through this. Don't worry, we'll get there, I promise. So, okay, Morgan, Joanie, as you played through the different seasons, Joanie is getting older and older and getting to a point where like she's starting to really notice the world around her. And you had some heavier lifting to do as the seasons went on. So like, for example, you had a scene where you had to panic about an earthquake. There's also an important scene that'll come up for you later in the seasons where you sort of take responsibility for what you think is causing a fight between Donna and Gordon, a fight where he actually ends up revealing an affair he had. And I don't know to what extent your character would have known what came out of it, but Joanie knew she caused a fight and felt so bad about it, she ran away. So like you had to like talk through that after. So they gave you some pretty significant emotional work to do as you were growing into the role. So when you think about the scenes that you did, was there any particular one that felt really challenging to you, or like that it really tested you?
The one that pops up in my mind is, gosh, it's so hard to like know exactly what scene this was, but I I was in like a little house thing, think with Gordon. And I remember that scene, it was like obviously emotional and stuff, and there's stuff going on. And I just remember being in that little house thing with him, and he was like, Scoot was like such a cool person as an actor to get to work with, because I just remember him like talking me through that, and he was like, listen, like take your time. Like he was like, you don't have to do this right now. Like you can take your time and like get in that mind space and like get yourself worked up, to cry. And I remember that was a really cool like learning moment, because we admired Scoot so much, as we did everyone, but I just remember thinking it was so cool how he would get into character. I would sit there and I would watch him as a little kid and just like get into character, and you could see it in his face, and he would like, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I remember like it was like my turn, and he was like, here's what I do. Like, and we sat down in that little tiny house, and he was like, take your time, breathe, get in that mindset, and like we will all be quiet and give you your time. And they were all quiet, and I just like was able to like get in character and then go when I'm ready. And it was just that cool moment of like, I was a kid, like I was taking direction, and like when they told me to go, I went. Like I was just there to do my job. And at that moment I remember being like, yeah, like this is cool. Like I have a little bit of like, not authority, but like a little bit of like freedom here to like get in character and do this. And I don't know, it was a very pivotal like just learning moment for me. But that's what sticks out in my mind when I think of those like more emotional scenes.
Yeah, I mean that, and I think that was probably from when you ran away.
It was, yeah.
And yeah, Haley's like, she's in the shed or whatever that
Whatever it
small
was, like,
structure. It was
little,
like a shed, but it was like a you could live in it. And it was, I don't know, like it wasn't tools, like you were there and it was decorated. Yeah, that's really fun to hear like what that felt like for you, because it's noticeable when you're watching the show, like they've separated the two of you and now you're getting all this work to do. So Alana, I'm conflicted about this question because I felt like such a jerk for sending you this scene in advance.
Totally fine.
You had a scene that you were part of in season 2 that becomes very important. Mm-hmm. Like arguably teases the most important reveal of the entire series. So for those of you who didn't listen to me saying there'd be spoilers, this is it. This is your last chance. Okay. So in season 2, it was episode 6. It was called 10 Broad 36. So let me set this up. Gordon has found out that he has a pretty serious illness, and he's sort of grappling with that diagnosis. So he takes the girls to visit his brother, who he hasn't seen in a long time. And he, reveals his illness while he's there. And he has an affair on Donna with his brother's ex, somebody that they both knew growing up. So it causes this big fight between Gordon and his brother that both of your characters see. You see the fight and you're upset by the fight. But Haley is so upset that she can't get to sleep. So Gordon has to call Donna and he has to say, Haley is really upset. Will you help her get to sleep? Do that thing that you always do to help her get to sleep. So you're lying in bed. She says, put the phone next to Haley's ear. She puts the phone next to Haley's ear and Donna sings Baby Mine. It's a song that I've only ever heard in the movie Dumbo, but it's a beautiful song. At points, she changes the word baby to Haley. So she'll say Haley Mine. Haley falls instantly asleep. So you're in that scene. If we fast forward to season 4, Gordon is in the middle of passing away. He's dying and he sees a vision. He hears Donna singing the song Baby Mine, and he sees a vision of Donna singing that song to baby Haley. And it's arguably the most important scene in the entire show. You can make an argument on it, I guess. Definitely an important death. And in the lead up to that, earlier in season 4, they are teasing that song a lot. He's tapping it out. He's asking other characters, what's this song? I'm trying to remember the name of this song, and he can't remember it. So they keep asking you to remember the scene you were in. So having set all of that up, just to make sure we're all on the same page, like now that you know that the work that you did ends up being really, really important to a major reveal in the show, like how does it feel for you to know that?
I can tell you, even just like thinking about it is really emotional because I mean, growing up on that set and like having Carrie as my mom and Scoot as my dad, and Morgan can agree with me on this, they were such parental figures on set as well. And so when we found out that Gordon was going to pass away, I think for all of us, it was kind of like a really like emotional like punch to the gut. And I mean, I remember filming that scene in that like hotel like so clearly. Like that is one of the most clear scenes that I remember because it's like that song throughout the entire like like series is important because I think it really shows that like especially like at the end as Gordon's passing away, like truly there is still a love and a connection there, and I feel like Joanie and Haley are the common ground between Donna and Gordon, and they will always be that important, the most important things in their life despite everything that's going on. And I think that baby Haley is kind of the innocence of like, you know, they're the beginning of their relationship, and just kind of that love that they have for each other. And Joni's kind of the product of you know everything in their life, and she truly understands, and Haley's just the innocent, like, you know, she's the baby. So but that scene actually is it's funny because that actually wasn't me in that scene. It was actually my little sister Farah, who is just as much a part of the family as Morgan and I, because if you look in a lot of the episodes, she's actually in the pictures as a younger version of me. Because, and Morgan's little sister too, because we were too old to like take the pictures and pretend to be the younger versions of us. So that was a cute little moment, and I think it made it more emotional for us too, because it was very, it was it was family. Like it was a big moment for us and for the series, and that song was just very, very emotional and very special throughout the entire series.
You said that you knew that that character was going to die. Like, do you know when, like at what point you knew that? Because we found out, it might have been season 1 that we find out he's sick. But they, you know, he stays alive for a long, like actual, with all those time jumps, like you almost forget that he's contending with this, and they try to bring it back up each season. But was there a point in there when you all knew, like, no, the thought is his character is going to pass away?
I don't remember like specifically when,
but it was while you were shooting the show.
I think they actually specifically called for I think it was when they called us for that episode, and they asked if I could, you know, play the younger version of me again, and I sent them, they were like, can you send us a picture and so we can see like how big you are, give us your measurements? And they were like, yeah, no, we can't do that anymore. So we sent them my sister, and they all knew her to begin with, so they were like, this is perfect. But no, we didn't, I don't think we knew until like almost last minute. And I think that was on purpose, but it was definitely like after we found out, I remember my family sitting in the living room watching the episode and everyone just bawling their eyes out because it was just so emotional.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I really wanted to ask you about this, but I also felt like, just on a moral level, I was like, do you send a clip of somebody's TV dad's dad? Like, it's just like, I just don't, we're doing it for the podcast though, everybody. That's what's happening. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of lighten it up a little bit. So you obviously were working with all adults. I mean, it was all adults around you. So was there any advice or wisdom that any of them gave you that still sticks out for you?
Morgan definitely has some. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like throw you out there,
No.
but I know
I
she
mean,
definitely has some for sure.
yeah. I talked about, my moment with Scoot and how that was like a cool moment. And then, really just every day we were so young and we were like, you're learning, everything is learning. And even just like learning the process of how these things work, like being around it every day, like knowing how blocking works, knowing how like the camera is going to move around you and what you need to do to adjust for that. And just like I loved it because yes, I was, as a kid you're like clinging to the adults around you and like watching their every move, and I'm like, okay, this person's doing this, like I'm gonna do this too, like you want to like fit in. And so it was a lot of like learning from the actors around us, but also like I don't know, I think Alana would agree, like seeing like the camera blocking and like we it was so cool. We got to like sit behind the camera, like they would let us like do the slate and they would let us like see how the camera functions and works, and like we seriously got to be a part of every part of the set. And that, like, I don't know, just it made my love for the business so much more incredible just because we got to like be a part of all of it. So I don't know, just my appreciation for the business is so immense because I don't know, we got that really cool experience of like taking it all in at such a young age and just learning. So yeah, I don't know if I could say like a specific piece of advice or moment because every day was just like we were taking it in, we were learning stuff every single day.
I think the other thing too is like we also like part of like getting to see everything was like even if we weren't like in the room where it was happening, like we were allowed to wear like the sound and like all the headphones and like know what was going on, and like this also helped us with like our scenes too, to like know the background of like why we're saying the things we're saying or doing the things we're doing. And Miss Carrie, I think, was kind of like a big mom figure on set too, because she gave us a lot of advice. And I remember her telling me, because she has like one of the biggest hearts in the world, and she's just so like she's such a genuine loving person, and like she was truly like a second mom. Like she was truly like comforting and loving and funny, and I had the most deep conversations I've ever had with a human being with her at early ages. I remember her telling me just like, whatever you want in life, it doesn't matter what it is, work hard for it and know that like you're going to make mistakes and that's okay. But as long as you really, really push for what you want and fight for what you want, you'll always be successful. And I think another thing we learned too is just like, especially like on set, more of like the emotional side of it is like you're kind of put in a vulnerable position the moment you step out there, because you are, you're kind of like stripping down your character, and you're crying in front of everyone, you're getting emotional in front of everyone, you're connecting with deep feelings, and you build that kind of trust with everyone. And I think it's so great that even working on like other projects, like we've run into the same people, like the cameramen and all that kind of stuff. And it's so funny that they always like, or the makeup ladies and everybody like that. And we run into each other and they're like, it's so funny that I've literally watched you grow up through a camera lens. And like, for me, that was just like, they've always taught me mistakes are okay as long as you learn and progress and give yourself grace. So that's a big thing.
Yeah,
It's
oh no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, just that last thing Alana said, like mistakes. That was like a big thing because we were young. We would forget lines. We would have our brain farts, we would call them, where like we'd be in the middle of a scene and me or Lana would mess up. and it's fine, you redo it, whatever, but like never once did I feel like, oh, I'm letting these other actors down because I just flubbed my line, you know, or I just messed up. It was never like, it was like, no, like we're gonna get this. Like we're a team. And me and Lana helped each other out so much with that kind of stuff. And then also like Carrie and Scoot and everyone just, I remember it was a team effort. It was never like, oh, you messed that up, or like now you have to redo this. It was like, it was all learning, it was all growing, and it was like, it was just the most amazing environment to get to grow in.
I think as a fan of the show, it feels good to know that a show you love was also a good experience for people behind the scenes. I think it elevates it somehow. And that's lovely to hear. Yeah, that there was so much growth on set and so much sort of support for you. I'm curious, Morgan, because you were saying like you really got to experience many, if not every department through sort of playing with it. So did that for you now, for both of you now, like, yeah, you act, but is there any other side of the production that you ended up being really interested in because of that experience?
For sure. I'm in college now. I go to I'm a freshman at the University of South Carolina, and my whole like appreciation and love for set has inspired me to my communications major, like journalism kind of stuff. And I want to be able to be on a set. Like that is a goal of mine. And I would love to be able, I don't care like what department, whatever. I like just crave to like still be a part of productions. And I love writing. And so it's really inspired me. I want to kind of like do a different angle and like maybe be behind the scenes and be a part of like that kind of promotion of productions, like kind of like it's called a unit publicist, kind of like working with a production to like promote it, to write about it, that kind of stuff, and like which is something I would have never ever known about or like thought about unless I had been on sets and been like seen how many opportunities there are on a set. And I know Alana can talk about this too. It is insane how many things go into productions. Like I would have never thought there are so many things you could do. The tiniest things. It's crazy. But definitely has inspired me with what I'm doing now. So
yeah, both Morgan and I are very like interested. We're both like love writing. And I think that a lot of that was like working with like the Chris's, the writers of the show. They were amazing. They made set life the best life. It was so fun. They were so fun. But I think seeing everybody like in their field and like working as a unit, like having that family environment and like that, just it was all a team effort, as we said. So like seeing that and that kind of community just really inspired me, and Morgan to try and feel that again. And I mean, again, I love writing and I loved seeing like when we were on set, like it was not just the set, it was like all of the different offices of all of the people who were involved in making it. And I loved where it was because you could literally leave Crafty and then go to all of the offices and see everybody, see the writers, the producers, the journalists, like everybody like working together to get something done. And like Morgan and I used that as like our playground. Like we'd literally go run around and like say hi to everyone. And like it was a treat. Like everyone's like, where's Haley? Where's Joanie? Where's Lana? Where's Morgan? And it's like everybody's, it was so fun and everybody made it just so enjoyable. And I think the other thing too is because I'm also a musician and I write music and that kind of stuff. And a lot of my inspiration and like everything for that came from working on set with people who, a lot of people also played instruments. And I remember, because Morgan can sing, Morgan can also play instruments as well. We do a lot of duets. But we got to spend a lot of time like singing and playing guitar and all of that stuff. And that really changed me because I realized how much I love it, and I learned a lot. Our set teacher, Mr. William, has like a whole like underground man cave of like a million different instruments, and he was my first guitar teacher. He taught me how to play. And so stuff like that, like just the little things that you wouldn't really think about that you get to experience on a set really made an impact in both of our lives.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I mean, you're starting to sort of answer like a final question. So before I kind of wrap that part of it, I just want to ask, is there anything else that jumps out at you about your experience on the show that I haven't asked about that you feel like you just want to put it out there, or a memory or somebody you want to thank, or some, an experience that we should know about?
Yeah, I think Alana's mind maybe went here. When we were rapping, we were in Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
I was like a football player and Lana was like a bear or something.
Ewok. I was a Star Wars
Yeah.
Ewok.
And anyway, we were in these costumes and we officially rap. And it was always so emotional for us, like rapping our episodes. But they come out, they're all clapping, and they bring us these like scrapbooks, each one of us. And it was these giant scrapbooks. And it just, every single person that we've ever met on set, every single person that we've ever talked to, that we've gotten to know, that like everyone we love had written in that scrapbook and had Polaroid pictures and put together this beautiful like display of just all the memories we've ever had throughout set. And each person wrote a handwritten note, and we were totally surprised with that. And like, oh, it makes me emotional to this day, just like oh gosh, I look through the book like from time to time and I'm just like flooded with emotions. It's like the sweetest thing ever, and like the most amazing keepsake I could ever ask for. And that was a really, really special moment for me and Alana. Just like they took the time to do that for us, and for all them to write us notes and give us advice. And I don't know, it was a family, and like that moment, right? It's just, that's what I think about when I think about Halt and Catch Fire. And I just love it.
I remember like the Chris's came in the room and like a couple ADs came in the room. We had cupcakes, like everybody had cupcakes, and there were so many tears. Like everyone, Morgan and I were bawling our eyes out. And like I remember like every time we rapped, it was emotional. Like we all, because I mean, it meant that we wouldn't see each other for months and months and months. And a lot of times we didn't know if there was another season, or, so we didn't know when we were going to see each other the next time. And I think that the biggest thing that I took away from it was just like, you learned, I mean, Morgan and I learned so much. And like that moment when they all came in and just like everybody was in the Clark house. So everyone that we were close with was hanging out in the kitchen and just bawling their eyes out, watching us like go through our books, and they gave us presents. I mean, Morgan and I still have the ukuleles that Mr. William gave us, and all those things. And like God, but it just like that whole moment of like, it was so bittersweet, but like it was the perfect way to like close it and leave. Just like, I don't want to say move on, because we never really did, but like that, like growing up of like, so happy that I had like my childhood was with you guys.
Yeah.
Ah, that's so beautiful. I'm tearing up. It's not even my experience. That's so lovely. Well, I know that you started to say a little bit about this, but like, is there anything else you want to share about what you're up to now, or how people can find you if you want them to? I'll just roll those together and you can say whatever you want to say about that.
Yeah. So I I mean, Morgan and I haven't really done a lot of acting recently. I think we're both at like that weird age, and we've kind of gone on and done our like our normal life kind of stuff. But for me, I dig around a lot. My job now kind of revolves around music and writing and that kind of stuff. So, you know, that that's kind of my life now. You guys can like look at like my Instagram and TikTok and that kind of stuff and follow that. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm so happy that like I got to share this, because I mean, I don't talk about it a lot with a lot of people. I feel like it's a weird conversation to have with somebody who doesn't necessarily understand like how they have a different like perception of like what it's really like. And then when you have that conversation, it's they're just really taken back and they don't really know how to react to it. So I try not to keep it in conversation, but like having this interview like really brought back a lot, and it really helped me reconnect to like a lot of old memories and just that feeling again, because I really missed it. So thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah, I totally agree with Alana. It's been so fun to reminisce, and because me and Lana, we can reminisce all we want together, but like her, we were in school or still in school and all this stuff, and it's just not, it's not something you're like, hey, like I did this for however many years, like, it's just, I love that it's like a shared memory between us and between the people on the set, and it's just something that we have together. But like along, we have kind of gone on with our schooling, and I'm in college now, and um it's been fun to just like, live your life, have like our normal life aside from like this amazing, crazy childhood. And I've loved like leaning into my education and like getting so excited about what I want to do in the future, and um, making friends and just all the things that are possibilities like from this industry that I can like look forward to. So yeah, I mean, me and Alana, we see each other every summer. I want her. She came and visited me at USC, and it was so much fun. And I want her to be a Gamecock, but we'll see what she does. But yeah, she is touring colleges, and I'm excited for her. And we talk every day, and I just like, if anything, like I don't know what I would have done without Alana. Like the most amazing friendship ever came from this, and um, we support each other all the time, and I think that shared memory and that like bond is just amazing. So yeah,
I can agree. I
I'm
can
Alana's biggest
agree with
fan.
that. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
This is so, if the people watching this are anything like what I'm trying not to smile like a fool for the entire interview, but here I am. That's just what's happening, and I have to accept it. This is so beautiful. And by the way, if anybody's looking to hire a unit publicist, that's Morgan. You're gonna need Morgan, yeah. That's amazing.
And,
well,
sorry, keep going.
no. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say, and a musician. If you need someone to be background noise, let me know.
Absolutely.
We're a package deal.
We're a package deal. I'll
Put
write
your
about
plug
you
in
guys,
now.
and I'll write songs about you guys. So
That's all different types of communication.
Yeah.
This is so wonderful. I mean, you got to put it out there, right? Who knows who's listening? So thank you so much, both of you, for taking time for saying yes to this, for taking time to do this, for coming on together, and like for being so generous with your thoughts about and your memories about what happened when you were so young on this set. It's been really, I feel like this is a beautiful way to start off doing any interviews, to really know that people have good memories of being on a set of a show that you love. I think it does enhance the experience. So, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so
course.
much for having us. I think us being able to share this stuff is like really special for us, especially like getting to like share our side of everything because we don't get to do that often. So,
Aw. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and enjoy Halt and Catch Fire. Take care, everyone.